Okay guys, I refilmed the Tunisian. I had so many problems with it. I'm gonna put it up anyway. It's a mess. Learn what you will. I did want to go ahead and get it up, but I am going to rip that out and do it all over because I had so many problems with how tight I got some of those rows when I was showing you how to do that Tunisian reverse stitch the way that I've seen a lot of people do it. I don't like the way that it's done that way, but because I learned it a different way. So I showed you the way that I had learned it differently as well. And yeah, but here it is in all its messiness and glory. Enjoy.
Good morning. I know I said that I was going to do a lapgan for the Tunisian crochet, but I have since changed my mind. And the reason being is because I've been commissioned to do 4 twin-size blankets, and I think I'll be all blanketed out, afghaned out for a while. So, I am going to do a scarf, sampler scarf. And with that, I hope you don't mind, but if you want to do a lapgan, you can chain on as many as you need for the size of your lapgan. If you want to turn it into a wrap, you could probably do 40 stitches, 45 stitches, something like that. They always tell you that when you cast on that you want to make sure, and that is what it's called in Tunisian crochet, casting on, binding off. It's a lot like knit. You know, I told you it was that combination of knit and crochet to create fibers, a fabric. Now this fabric is all Tunisian simple stitch, and one of the things about Tunisian crochet is it curls. There are ways to fight the curl, and generally you will hear to go up 2 hook sizes or a hook size, or things like that. And yes, you could certainly do that, but one of the other methods that they will teach you to do is basically to do, after you've done your first row of a simple stitch, to do a purl row. And you can do that, but you can see it still curls up a little bit. What I found works the best is to do, and we're not talking about the curl on this end, talking about the curl on this end, is to do the reverse Tunisian simple stitch. And you'll see, backside looks a little different, not much, but that actually helps with that curl a lot more than anything else I've ever found. So, and generally when I cast on, I like to use a hook size bigger, just because. So I'm going to start with a slip knot. And I do slip knots a little differently sometimes than other. I'm doing it this way because that's the way most people know to do it. I just found there are different ways to do it, and that works a little bit better. So I'm going to chain 20. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Now, I'm going to show you something because I do this all the time. Generally, I will add an extra stitch. And the reason being is because I don't like to go into this stitch here. Normally you would start pulling up your stitches by going into this next one here, going like this, pulling up. I don't like doing that because I like my edges to look a little bit neater. So generally I will turn it over and go into the bumps, and you can't go really into that first bump, so it's easier just to go into the second one and pull up. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to pull up a loop onto the Tunisian hook, whatever hook you're using. You're going to leave that loop on your hook. And that's what I do. It works for me. Oh, come on, bump. And sometimes those bumps can be rather annoying, and you have to fight with them. Well, it helps if I did it the right way, wouldn't it, girls? Guys. Okay. There we go. There's my bump standing straight up nice and tall. And you'll see most time I will have to use my hook a little bit to help me encourage that to open up for me. And I believe there are hooks that are Susan Bates for those of you that like that. I don't really care for the Susan Bates hooks, but for those of you that do, you know, by all means, carry on. Oh, Lordy. I think it got twisted right there. And sometimes that happens. There we go. And I think sometimes when it gets twisted like that is because you've used a larger hook. So it gets loosey-goosey. Split them. And I'm using Red Hard Buff for this. And I will tell you, the first row is always the most difficult. And why? Who knows? And now would be a good time to count your stitches. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 20, 21. And I did cast on that extra stitch, and that's perfectly fine. It's not going to make a big difference in a hill of beans. So you've got your stitches there, and then for the return pass And I just, like I said, always like that extra stitch just because. The return pass on this first row is real simple. Yarn over, pull through one, yarn over, pull through two, and this is what is considered a normal return pass or a regular return pass. And you will see sometimes that when people write it, they will write chain one, go through one loop, chain one, go through two, all the way to the end. And I will tell you, if when you're doing this return pass, you do not want that extra stitch that you added on in there. You could actually go through three to change that up. But I just leave the extra stitch because I think it adds a little extra on the end for edging. I've seen where people tell you to do 2 extra stitches for your edging stitches. I don't think it matters. Now, we want to avoid the curl. So normally I'm going to show you the purl stitch first. And the purl stitch is, for a lot of people, they find somewhat difficult, but you do get into a rhythm once you use it, where it doesn't feel as awkward as it does at first. So normally with Tunisian simple stitch, you would pick up this next loop if we were doing a Tunisian simple stitch row again. And maybe we should do that. Yeah, we'll go ahead and pick up that. So you're going to pick up these bars. You do not pick up this bar here because that is this bar right there. You already have it on your loop, on your hook. So let's just pick up these bars, vertical bars, all the way across. And when you get to that last stitch, there's a little difference in the way that you pick it up. Although I've seen people just tell you to pick up the vertical bars and not worry about it. And you could certainly do that. But the reason most people choose to pick up the end a little differently is because it lends itself to an absolutely nice finished edge. And isn't this about as much fun as watching paint dry? Sorry guys. And you know how I told you it feels a little awkward at first? It's kind of like filming around a camera. It's a little awkward at first. Now you come to your last 2 stitches. Don't forget this stitch. Pick it up. Now there will be some people that tell you just go ahead and pick up that last vertical bar. But a lot of people will tell you to turn it on its side and to actually pick up both those stitches. Because when you get up and down all along this side, it makes a beautiful edge. It's kind of like when you're knitting, and many times when you're knitting, you just slip the first stitch or slip the last stitch. It just makes the edge nicer. So our return pass is to, and I always just say chain 1 because that's basically what you're doing. Then you're going to yarn over, go through 2, and this is a regular return pass. And I say that because there will be times when you're doing certain stitches, your return pass will be different. You may have a return pass that tells you to go through 2. Chain 1, go through 3. You know, and it's just the stitch pattern, whatever you're doing. You may be doing a lace pattern. That's where you normally see a lot of different things. Or if you're doing shells, not through 3, Jane, through 2. And you can already see how it's curling up. Now our next row, we're going to do a purl row. And the purl row, once again, you're not going to pick up this bar. These are all vertical bars we're working in because we're doing the Tunisian simple stitch. The way that I have always learned to do purl is you want your hook behind your yarn, bring it down, go into that next stitch, wrap your yarn around, and pull through. Again, you want to bring the yarn forward, yarn around, pull up the loop, yarn forward, go through your vertical bar. You want to yarn around, you want to wrap that yarn around the hook. You don't want to just do this. And you can use your thumb because a lot of people learn to just use their thumb. You don't want to do this because that's not exactly the same stitch. It's close. Sorry about that. I'm using my phone to film. Basically, you do not want to just pull through like this. Although it looks the same, it is going to, I don't know, I think it just messes up the way that the stitches look. So I don't do it that way. Like I said, I've always learned that you want to bring it forward, yarn over, pull through, because that looks more like a true purl stitch. The other does not. Okay, Jane, difficulties. Go through, pick up that vertical bar, and it's being stubborn today. Yarn over, pull through, yarn in front, yarn over, pull through, yarn in front, pull through, and you will learn. I tell you, you can go pretty fast once you get into your own rhythm, but like anything else, it means you got to do a lot of practicing. You know, we didn't just learn to crochet the first time without some practice. And Tunisian is going to be the same way. It's going to be practice. And you see, I am also using this thumb as a way to guide that yarn, and also I generally just pinch right there and hold it. That is what works for me. You may find another method that works for you, and that's perfectly fine. And you can tighten that stitch up because you see how loose it is here. Okay, and now we're at the end, and you can do that purl stitch on the end as well, but you just want to bring it through both of those strands and pull through both of those. Now that will give you a different look on the end. A lot of people don't like that, so on the end many times they just go through both of those right there the regular way. That's perfectly fine because it'll give you that nice edge on. If I skip there. Okay, then you're going to yarn over or chain one, yarn over, go through two, yarn over, go through two, yarn over, go through two, yarn over, go through two. It is a regular return pass. And there you have your row. And there you have a purl row. And you see that's flattened it out quite a bit. Now, we'll go ahead and we'll do another Tunisian regular simple stitch. And we'll pick up those bars again. Remember, you don't pick up the first one. You want to pick up the vertical bars. We are doing Tunisian simple stitch. And you're going to pick those bars up all the way across. And I will tell you, first couple of times you're messing around with Tunisian, it seems awful slow. But you, like I said, you do get into a rhythm. Then you want to go into the two back there and pick that up. And chain one. Chain, yarn over, go through two. 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 And you will do that all the way back to the end. And trust me, folks, let me get some more yarn here. It definitely, once you get into the habit, it works a little bit easier for you. Um, I don't normally have this much trouble, but then again, I don't have a camera between me and my hands normally, so it does change things up a little bit, and I am getting used to that. And there you are, back at the beginning again. Now, I told you, I think I did, well, if I didn't, I'll tell you now. For every stitch you have in Tunisian, you have a reverse stitch. And we have a reverse stitch for the simple stitch as well. And basically what a lot of people do is you want to look at your fabric here, flip it over. You have vertical bars all along the back as well. I hope that you can see those. You have a vertical bar for the front, and one of the ways you can see that is to simply pull your fabric this way. You'll see you have that back vertical bar. Now, you can pick that up. There are a couple of ways to do that. I'm going to show you one of the simplest ways I have seen it, and it is basically to look where your next bar is, which would be here. You want to turn it over, pick up the back bar, and a lot of people will just grab that yarn and pull through. Okay, you're going to do that all the way across. And you're going to pull it through. You're going to go to your next bar. Do the same thing. Got a little closer, didn't I? And go into the next bar. Grab your yarn, pull through. Next bar, yarn. You want to grab that yarn and pull it through. And it can be a little awkward. A lot of people just turn the work to the side this way. I don't know why that bar is being a little stubborn. But you know, more power to that little bar. Maybe he's scared and doesn't want to be picked up. I don't blame him, I'm scared too. And I think you can see how sometimes that feels a little awkward. But you do get in that rhythm. Once again, try not to pull them too tight. I think that's the problem I'm having here, is I'm pulling these too tight. So try to keep it loosey-goosey. Because if you pull too tight with Tunisian, it just gets tighter and tighter. I'll go to my next bar, which is here. And pull that through. Go into my next bar, which is here. And I think you can see this is not the way that I normally do reverse Tunisian, because I am having a lot of trouble with it. my next bar there. And I have one more bar, which is here. And then you will also go through the back, from the back to the front, pull up that loop. And once again, going to yarn over, pull through one, yarn over, pull through two, yarn over, pull through two, yarn over, pull through two, yarn over, pull through two. It is basically that same return pass that we have done all along. And see, I can feel that my stitches are much tighter doing this reverse this way. I want to go through three, I want to go through two. And there you go. And there is that reverse stitch. Now, I'm going to show you the way that I actually normally do this. The reason I showed you that way is I've seen it done that way on many other channels. So, you know, to make sure that you're not confused with others, you can do it that way. But this is the way that I normally do it. I actually pull my yarn forward, then yarn over and pull through. Go in, pick up that next one, have my yarn in front, yarn over, pull through. And you're going to see that this is a lot like the when I was showing you the purl stitch on the front. That is part of the reason I use that, is because it just flows to me more naturally that way. Picking up that back loop. Oh lordy, boy did I get that tight. don't believe how tight I got that stitch in the previous row. That is funny. Now I'm getting a little cross-eyed, guys. I don't think I'm skipping. Sometimes you have to go to the front to find the stitch, especially when you got it tight like that. And that's why you want to keep your stitches a little looser, so you don't have to fight with it the way I am right now. Loose stitches are better for Tunisian, guys. So if you think your stitches are way too loose, don't worry about it. That actually works out better in the long run. That's not the stitch. It is. Okay. I think we've got past that rough spot. Not so much. Got these really tight. Don't be like Jane. Don't get them so tight you can't get the hook through there. And I think I missed a stitch back there. Yep, I'm pretty sure I missed a stitch back there. So, I am going to pull it out so I can get it back. And generally when I make a mistake like that, I generally just look to double make sure that I can get to that stitch. There are a vertical stitch. There's the first vertical stitch. There's our second. And this is the reverse. And there's our third. Well, it's actually our fourth because we had the first one on the hook. need to go get my glasses. Nope, it's still just gonna be a tight one. And that is one that I skipped, I'm sure. Because I got it so tight. There we go. And now we're going to have yarns footage. Well, isn't that just special? And there's our next bar. And normally it's not this easy when you don't get it. I mean, not this hard when you don't do that first row so dang tight. That's normally why I don't do that other row that way, because I find it gets too tight, way too tight. And as you see, then you gotta force things in. Apparently that was not the correct stitch. That is it. Yeah, it was. Oh boy. Like I said, don't be like Jane. Don't work it so tight that it drives you nuts. Trying to get into it, because it shouldn't be this hard. And like I said, I normally do it this way because it makes it a little bit easier. It keeps me from getting those stitches so tight. Because I will tell you, when it is tight like that, you can see how much trouble I'm having with it, struggling with it to get the stitch picked up. Because when it's tight, it's no fun fighting with it to get it picked up. you are basically doing is you are going and you are finding, there's that next vertical bar right there, you're finding the back leg, which is right there. Oh, okay. And then you are going to once again go through those two in the back, the two legs. Well, if I can get them. Not getting them both, am I? Here we go. Let me make sure. Okay. Then you're going to yarn over, go through one, yarn over, go through two, all the way back. Boy, talk about difficult. Try not to get it too tight like that. That's why I don't do it that one way on the other, because I can always get it way too tight. And then it just fights. Now, you can continue by practicing those 3 rows again, but I think I'm actually going to do another reverse row. Because reverse rows actually make a pretty texture. As you can see, they make a really nice texture. So here we go again with picking up my back rows, and of course they should be a little easier this time because they're not all tight. That is, if we can get the camera in the right position. Well, I got that wrapped around, didn't I? Oh, that was wrong. And like I said, when I work this way, it actually makes it a lot easier for me because it's so much like the purl row that I'm doing when I do it on the front. Of course, the only thing I have to worry about is sometimes I wrap that twice like that. But it's easily remedied. If you just quit getting into the habit of doing that, Jane. And yeah, I'm going to change the way I wrap in that. It is basically the same way I've been wrapping it all the way along. And then I want to go through these two loops here. Well, come on now. Yarn over, pull through one, yarn over, pull through two, yarn over, pull through two, all the way back. biggest thing is you have to remember not to go through 3. And like I said, I think that that makes a nice little texture. You've got that on the other side and this on this side. You can practice picking up a Tunisian simple stitch again on this next row. Like I said, is those first vertical bars. And you can certainly do that all the way across. Do your regular return pass. Do a couple of rows like that. This is just a practice piece for us to learn. That's why I decided to change it up a little bit to that smaller one. And yeah, just pick that up, play with it a little bit. Normally when you see Tunisian simple stitch, you will see it written as TSS, and you may see them all the same, you know, the same exact thing. You may see that it is a T with 2 S's. That's basically the same thing. And of course, when you do the return pass, lots of times you may see it written as typical, and that is that chain 1, yarn over, go through 2 all the way across. And let's see what else. Or you may see it as regular return pass. Have some more symbols. You may see it written this way, as in return pass. You may see that when you're doing a simple stitch, it just says forward pass. That's whatever stitch you're doing it in. Like I said, the Tunisian simple stitch, you'll see it written that way. The Tunisian purl stitch is written this way. Now this is Tunisian reverse stitch, but I will tell you, normally I put 2 S's behind there so that people know it is the Tunisian simple stitch, because that's what we're doing right now. In the next couple of days, we'll get to the full stitch and then the full stitch reversed as well. And we may even do the knit stitch. You already know the purl stitch, but there are some differences when you are doing the knit stitch. And we'll get to that when we do that later on this week. I hope this helped you a little bit. I know it can be confusing, but we'll get through this. Okay, guys, see you soon.